Every illness tends to get a bit better with dedicated treatment. However, there are those tough ones that just don't seem to improve. No matter how hard you try, ankylosing spondylitis is precisely that kind of disease. It's a painful condition where inflammation develops in the spine, gradually worsening until the vertebrae eventually fuse together. Even with all the medical advancements we have today, this disease remains stubbornly resistant to easy solutions. Its cause isn't clear, so there's no fundamental cure. Our best option is simply to maintain the current state for as long as possible. Faced with a disease where even the hope of recovery seems distant, patients must endure an exhausting, seemingly endless fight. This disease doesn't just appear by chance. Given its significant genetic influence, patients constantly live with the fear that their condition might be passed down to their children. While physical therapy cannot entirely alleviate this underlying anxiety, there's no more reliable way to improve one's physical condition. For this reason, I chose physical therapy for ankylosing spondylitis as the topic for my master's thesis, and publicly recruited patients to participate in my study. It wasn't an easy process, but thankfully, many individuals bravely volunteered, allowing the experiment to proceed smoothly. I was able to collect and analyze valuable data, leading to my successful graduation. Among them, 2 patients in particular remain vivid in my memory. The first patient was a young man in his early 30s. He had a slightly curved back and a turtleneck posture, with his head jutting forward. He didn't have much trouble walking, but his spine was so stiff that turning his body was difficult, and limited movement in his shoulders and pelvis made even moving his limbs uncomfortable. For such a patient, a physical therapist's role is to restore body movement, especially the mobility of the torso. It wasn't hard to decide which exercises to prescribe, as there are established routines. The challenge, however, lay in how often and how diligently he would perform them. He visited the hospital about 3 times a week, exercising for just over an hour before leaving. This limited time alone made it difficult to expect significant improvement. Ultimately, he needed to exercise consistently at home, but trying to do that by himself with a stiff body was much harder than it seemed. Yet he managed it. As he continued physical therapy, his physical condition gradually improved. Initially, his head couldn't even touch the floor when he lay down due to his rounded back, and he couldn't sleep without a high pillow. But as he consistently loosened the muscles at the back of his neck and performed spinal mobility exercises, his posture clearly changed. Eventually, he could even sleep comfortably with just a regular pillow. Perhaps his youth, before his spine had fully fused, contributed to the better treatment outcome. He placed his hope in himself and diligently continued his exercises. During his treatment, we talked a lot. He shared that after graduating from university, he joined his dream large corporation. However, shortly after starting work, severe back pain plagued him. He visited several hospitals, but couldn't find the cause, eventually receiving a diagnosis of ankylosing spondylitis at a university hospital. He said he had never heard of the disease before. Afterward, he had to give up a lot. Commuting to work while receiving hospital treatment became too much, so he eventually resigned and now works as a certified real estate agent. With a wife and child, he told me, he starts each day by resolving to live well today. Listening to his story, my heart ached, and I wholeheartedly helped him, hoping that my treatment could offer him even a small measure of strength. As his physical condition improved, his daily life also became noticeably lighter. His recovery was a result of both my dedication and his effort. But I couldn't simply rejoice. Knowing the progression of this disease, I knew he still had a long and difficult journey ahead. Since the research period was only 3 months, we couldn't continue the treatment. And thus, our connection came to an end. On the last day, he was still worried about whether the disease would be inherited by his child. I wonder what kind of life he is living now. I quietly pray that he has overcome the disease well and is living happily with his family, just as he so earnestly wished. The second patient was a young woman in her late 20s. She had been diagnosed about 5 years prior, and she was tall and slender with striking eyes. However, perhaps due to the burden on her body, her first impression was that she seemed somewhat sensitive and unusually concerned about her health. She had attended church since childhood, and her faith seemed to have deepened during her illness. Her dream was to go on a solo pilgrimage. Flights, trains, buses, endless walking. She yearned for this arduous journey, but she felt it was utterly impossible, given her current physical condition. So she prayed. After days and nights of continuous prayer, she saw my recruitment notice for research participants and immediately applied. She believed I was an answer sent by God, and when I heard her story, I felt her desperation with all my being. At the same time, her immense faith also felt somewhat burdensome. Fortunately, her spine had not yet fused, but her entire body was weak, and she experienced pain in various places, making it difficult for her to withstand even minor impacts. In particular, the muscles supporting her head and neck were weak, making even slight bumps when riding in a taxi uncomfortable. The anxiety and stress about her illness seemed to have broken her spirit. Her biggest problem was temporomandibular joint disorder. It was difficult for her to open her mouth, and even chewing was painful. This area is constantly used for speaking and eating, causing significant discomfort. In her case, the cause was not the joint itself, but an imbalance in the surrounding muscles. To achieve her dream, she poured her whole heart into the 3 months of treatment. She never missed a session and diligently practiced the exercises I taught her at home. The results were astonishing. Her physical condition rapidly improved, and her jaw problem was completely resolved, allowing her to speak and eat freely. Perhaps her faith guided this entire process. A week after the treatment ended, I received a call from her. "My PT, I'm at Incheon Airport right now. I'm leaving for Jerusalem in 10 minutes. Thanks to you, I can go on my pilgrimage. Thank you so much. I'll be back safely." I was working when I received the call and felt a lump in my throat. It was I who should have been grateful. Thanks to her participation, I was able to obtain valuable data, and I could successfully graduate from graduate school. 2 months later, after returning from her pilgrimage, she contacted me again. I invited her to dinner to express my gratitude. Throughout the meal, she recounted her travel experiences, her eyes shining, having achieved her long-cherished dream. Her face radiated a bright light. Most impressively, she had regained her confidence and self-esteem. Now she could even talk about her illness much more comfortably and honestly. As we finished dinner and were about to part ways, she carefully handed me a small keychain. "I bought this in Jerusalem, thinking of you and praying for you." It was a decoration with a long cross on a small coin-sized ring. We went our separate ways after that day, but I still keep that keychain by my side. That small gift, imbued with her earnest heart, feels like a kind of guardian angel to me. In the hospital setting, I meet countless people and hear innumerable life stories. When I learn about their lives, the pain they've endured, what they wish to do, and what future they dream of, I naturally come to understand them. Everyone carries their own dream in their heart. Those with physical discomfort simply wish to be free from it. It's a completely natural desire. I merely did my part, Yet they thank me, saying I helped them achieve their dreams. People often focus on what one does for a living, but I believe there are clearly more important values in this world. How many professions allow one to add deep meaning to someone's life and move their heart? I witnessed those miraculous moments firsthand. That's why, even today, I am sincerely grateful